Hello and welcome to another edition of Spring Anime Review First Impressions 2015. Today we're going to be talking about 3 more anime, the last 3 for this week, and then we'll move on to episode 2 of these animes that I've reviewed. Today's animes are going to be Houkago no Pleiades by Gainax and Subaru, Punchline by Mappa, and Traiage X by Quebec. Are these anime worth watching? Well, let's find out, starting with Houkago no Pleiades. Houkago no Pleiades was done by Gainax and Subaru. Yes, the car company Subaru, not some new anime studio out of nowhere. No, literally the car company Subaru. And Gainax, you know, the people who made Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, and nothing else. Houkago no Pleiades is a magical girl show, and that's it. So far in the first episode, we know it's a magical girl show, and it looks like there's going to be no twist. There's no fighting, there's no conflict. There's a little conflict between a boy and Subaru, who is the main character. Her name is Subaru, likes her, so it doesn't look like there's going to be any combat, and they've got to get engine piercing so they can send the cute little thing back to home. There's no, it's dull. But it's a magical girl show, and it has kind of the cuteness you expect from it. I'm kind of surprised about how much I like this show, considering it is just a magical girl show. Just it being a magical girl show is something super rare nowadays, because since Madoka Magica, which I think is one of the best anime of all time, but if you disagree that's fine, magical girl shows have not been allowed to exist without a dark, twist. This being just a plain magical girl show, done by Gainax, that looks pretty, makes it an enjoyable watch in 23 minutes. Boring at parts, but for 23 minutes, you can just relax, sit back and just listen to awful jokes and decent characters talk about how to send their little cute thing back home. Overall, it's a decent watch, and I've seen a lot worse this series. So if you like magical girl shows, or if you want to watch something a little bit cuter for a change, Houkago no Pleiades is not that bad. Now let's get on to the product placement. Considering Subaru did this, we need to talk about if there's product placement in the thing. There is, but very small. I only found out by looking online what the product placement was. What the product placement was, I was like, oh yeah, and the main character is called Subaru. It's barely noticeable, so it's not a big point of the show. I just thought I'd mention this. So if you want to watch a nice, good-looking magical girl show this season, Houkago no Pleiades has started off very strong. Let's move on to Punchline, which is not a magical girl show. Punchline is done by Mappa. If you know who they are, then you know they did Zanko no Terror a couple of years back, which was absolutely brilliant. So how did they go from Zanko no Terror, which was a serious show about terrorism and things going boom, to a show about panties? I don't know, but Punchline isn't bad. The shows which main gimmick is a guy looks at panties and then the world explodes sounds awful. It sounds like one of the worst anime of the season. But in fact, if I did I'm not going to, but if I did a list of the best anime of the year, this would be about the medium, above some shows like Sound Emporium. Why? Because it was so over the top that you can't help but laugh. It's a joke a minute of fun that works, which shouldn't, but somehow it does. Like, the main gimmick is that he looks at panties and then the world explodes. Okay, that's not funny, but when you see it and the hilariousness of it, it just works. It's so colourful, and it starts with a bang. This is probably the best opening 5 minutes of an anime this year, if not of all time. It's one of the it's just like, let's just throw everything at the wall. Let's just throw everything we have at this wall and see what sticks. And some of it doesn't. Some of the jokes fall flat. But it's okay, because 2 minutes later you got another joke. Is it good? I liked it, but like I said, I shouldn't. It really depends on how much anime you've watched. If you've watched a lot of these shows, then you will get the jokes, and it will not be as original as it was for me. I would recommend this show, the first episode especially. However, I'm really concerned this is just going to fall flat. The first episode, I highly recommend for someone who's looking for a good 22 minutes jokes. There's a cat as well that talks. What bearing he has on the plot, we'll see later on. So, it's alright. I don't have high hopes for this, and episode 2 will give me more of an impression of whether I will recommend the entire show as a whole or just the first episode. But the first episode I will recommend. So tonight a show I'm just mentioning shows that are fan service. We've had a magical girl show and a show about a guy who looks at panties. I mean, what's oh god, no, Dragon X. Oh, the good streak ends. Traiage X is done by Quebec, who have done a shit ton of shows, so this shouldn't be anything different. The difference here is this show is shit. Well, most of that shows are shit, but this is especially shit. It's fan service and nothing more, which would be alright if the show wasn't shit. I mean, I got compared to Punchline. Punchline's just fan service. It's about a guy who looks at panties and the world explodes. But this isn't funny. It's dark, 95% of it is censored, and it's just big boob girls. There's jokes, there's scenes which are disturbing, but Madoka had scenes that were disturbing, but I wasn't, the scenes in Madoka were more disturbing because there was context. Here there's a guy who's kidnapped a guy and is raping her daughter. That's not disturbing or sick, because I don't have any idea who these characters are. The show's not good. Okay, I could get deep into why this show ain't good. I could go on for 10 hours about why this show undermines anime and all that shit. But I'm not going to give this show that much credit. It's the worst anime of this year. It's going to have a great... We're going to have a great battle as the year goes on between this and Gunslinger Shrouds, because we're going to see which one's worse. My money's on this show because the first episode, this is the worst anime of the season so far. Dragon X is the worst anime of the season so far because it is just fan service and the girls are not pretty. It's not even a pretty show. It's dark and they have giant boobs. Who finds that sexy? I mean, seriously, who finds giant boobs sexy? No one. It's not even funny. It's just... This ain't High School of the Dead, okay? If people were expecting High School of the Dead, I understand. That's a parody show. I understand that, but this is not that. This is shit. Punchline is more High School of the Dead. This is more every fan service show around. There's better out there. This show is shit. Do not watch it. Do not give it this time of day. This is the worst anime of the season, and I absolutely fucking hate it. So thanks for sticking around to this end of this video, and we can now start getting deep into the anime. It's been a great start. Sorry this episode took a bit longer to do, but there wasn't much I could say about them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for episode 2 of Gunslinger Shrouds, Oronos of F, and Plastic Memories. Do they continue being shit, good, and amazing, or do they change? Don't have high hopes for Gunslinger Shrouds. See you next time.